All right, thanks everyone for joining us this afternoon. Let's kick things off with Nick Groke. Nick, go ahead.
Yeah, but he had a couple of pitching questions. With Herman, first of all, obviously he has, he's sort of peak stuff, I think, or heading toward his peak as far as stuff is concerned. But you hinted at this a little bit last night, like that the need for a pitcher to kind of learn how to pitch when they're not at their peak.
Yeah.
So but having somebody who is like his baseline is normal is so good as far as stuff. I mean, is it something that he has to learn on his own how to do that? Do you have conversations with him?
Nick, yeah, you're right. As it relates to Herman, last night when I said, he's got to learn and he's learning, right? It isn't like he doesn't know it and he's got to learn it. I mean, there's a process of experience of knowing, how to work your way through a game when, you might not feel 100%, your stuff might not be 100%. And going back to your comment about, his stuff is probably at the high end of where it's going to be moving forward. He's right in that phase of his physical being where, we're seeing his best stuff. And granted, he can hold this now for a while. I mean, at the very high end, Nolan Ryan, and more present day, Max Scherzer at 37 years old his stuff is still as good as it was when he was younger. So I think Herman, barring any injury or anything physical where he loses velocity or loses the ability to spin the ball like he is now, his stuff's going to remain the same for a while. So now you get to I can talk about this for a long time, but I'm going to try to condense it the best I can. And he's got to be able to understand, and he's learning this as each start goes by, and we talk about each start and reflect on each start. But in a nutshell, a game like last night where he gave up 3 runs in the inning, and I don't know whether I said this last night, but gave up an infield chopper to Escobar. Believe he got Soto out, and then he hit a guy in the foot. Then he gave up a hit, or he gave up and then a walk. But the hit by pitch and the walk, as soon as he hit the guy in the foot, a pitcher's got to realize, man, that's a grave mistake that I overcooked that breaking ball and I hit a guy. I can't do that again. I cannot beat myself again this inning. And he did by the walk. So, you have to learn that sometimes it's better to have them beat you than you beat yourself. And I think that's happened a little bit more with Herman in his bad games than the other team beating him. And I think that's sort of the lessons that I've tried to teach him about, what's going to, take him to the next level of performance. And, at 26 into his 5th year, I mean, last year was sort of a down year just because of 60 games. But, that intelligence of getting through a game is acquired over time. And a lot of young pitchers in the big leagues learn that over time. Some guys do it real quick. Some guys take, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And Herman's in that period now where he's, he'll say, I beat myself. I walked 2 guys. I walked the pitcher. All the things that, really good pitchers don't do. And is it going to happen sometimes? Of course. But you got to minimize those times that you beat yourself. And it could be an errant pickoff throw. It could be not fielding your position. Hanging breaking balls are going to happen. Bad located fastballs are going to happen. But some of the things that you guys watch and you see a game will stand out to you. And you'll say, oh, that's what Buddy was talking about. And that's what I think, and it's the same sort of thing with John. And I think, at John with times, all pitchers at times beat themselves, but you gotta decrease the frequency of that happening. And I said it to it could be any pitcher. It could be I'd have the same conversation with Scherzer or Bueller or any pitcher. That's a difference maker in overall performance of 6 months.
Separate question entirely, but like by matter of comparison, Antonio Senzatella, I think it's fair to say that he might not have the same sort of stuff that German has, but for 2 years he's been one of, if not your most effective pitchers. It doesn't show up in his win-loss record this year,
right? Which is a bummer, right? And that's been
Yeah.
the run support and maybe a little bit of leaving the game with a lead or a close lead, and the other team chips away and he gets a no decision. Sure. But,
this is like maybe too big a question, but like, can you boil it down? Like, why for somebody who isn't like as stuffy as German, what is he doing so well, and for 2 seasons now?
Yeah, well, again, I think this year, I think it's been obvious, especially the last 2 months, what he's done well, and his walk rate is decreased, so he's getting the ball in the strike zone, and he's getting the ball in the strike zone in good spots.
Right.
I mean, that's for me what it's boiled down to. Now, that's one thing. And then you go to his pitches. His fastball, I think with John, I think the velocity has ticked up this year, especially the second half. Maybe in miles. Yeah, you guys can probably look that up. You guys look that stuff up more than I do. But, just from, my eye and just looking at the scoreboard readings, his velocity has been just a little bit crisper the last couple months. But I think more importantly, his development and improvement of his secondary pitches has been the key. I think the slider is sharper. The curveball, even though thrown, infrequently, has been a weapon and something that the other team has to respect, along with the changeup. So the curveball changeup usage, and I'll say this has to, for me, should increase as the years move forward. I say the same thing about John. And I say the same thing about Marquez's changeup. I think that has to come into play more, especially against lefties. But with Sensa, walk rate down, strikeout rate a little bit up, not a lot. I mean, he's not a big strikeout pitcher. Good command, improvement of the secondaries. That's been his calling card.
Gotcha.